Welcome to the Kuusamo Summit, an international climate seminar for young people. I'm a presenter, Zahra Karime, and I'm hosting the summit remotely here from our live studio. Climate and the environment are things that make us young people think a lot. Today we get information and tools in our daily lives with which we can influence and make sustainable choices. Today we are having discussions about fashion, cosmetics, food, and travel. There will certainly be a really interesting discussion on these topics, and we hope that all of you out there behind the screen will take a part in our event by sending messages. You can take a part by clicking the green button in left below the screen. It opens a new tab to your browser where you can find a chat box and poll voting. But now, first of all, Petteri Taalas, the patron of our event, wants to send his greetings, and after that, we are contacting Kuusamo.
So greetings from World Meteorological Organization here in Geneva. I'm Secretary General Petteri Taalas, and at WMO we are in charge of the UN weather, climate and water expertise. And we are very much dealing with climate change, and we are, for example, the founding father of IPCC, and we are also hosting the IPCC Secretariat here. And then we are also providing lots of information on climate change. We just published our most recent report on climate change together with the Secretary General Guterres mid-September, and where we showed that climate change still proceeds. Last 5 years have been the warmest years on record. And in the Arctic, where you have your summit at the moment, the warming has been double the global average. So there has been more than 2 degrees warming in the Arctic, and the snow and ice are melting from the region, which is giving a boost to the warming. And we have also been breaking records in main greenhouse gas concentrations, especially carbon dioxide, which is the most important one. And you, young people, you are really playing an important role here. First, you have to demonstrate to your fathers, like me, that this is an important issue, and we are talking about your future. I'm also a father of 5 children, and I hope to see one day also grandchildren, and we are concerned of the future of the coming generations. If we fail with climate mitigation, we could see a problem which would last for even hundreds of years, but luckily we have all the means to be successful in climate mitigation. We have means to convert our transport system to become climate friendly, electric vehicles, biofuels, cycling, public transportation. We have in energy sector we have means to get rid of fossil energy. We can start using more renewable energy, solar, wind, hydro, and also nuclear energy is needed to be successful. And we can also introduce more energy saving structures. We can heat and cool our buildings with heat pumps, and we can also insulate our buildings in better way. And we can also start favoring more climate-friendly diet and eat less meat and more vegetables and fish, for example. And we can also do something to the global forest resources, especially in tropical areas where this deforestation is speeding up. And we also have to treat the forest fires. We have seen record-breaking forest fires in California, Siberia, Australia, and Sweden during recent years, and they have all contributed to the emissions to the atmosphere. So personally, I'm optimistic that we can solve this problem, and your support as young people, that's very much needed, and also your demonstrations, they have been seen and understood by decision makers. So please continue raising your voice, and jointly we can find a good solution to this problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petteri. Next, we will visit Kuusamo and hear what our event organizer has on their mind and how Kuusamo Summit was born.
Hello, my name is Sani Säästömoinen. I'm in Kuusamo, Northern Finland, and I'll be your host here. Kuusamo Summit 2020 is an end result of an idea set by myself and 5 other young people. And we want to bring a northern perspective to the idea of climate change. Even though the topic might seem far and distant and something we can't influence. This pressing issue is something that resonates with us young people because we need to create a more sustainable future to ourselves. Thus, we want to highlight the importance of daily decisions that each of us can apply to our daily lives. For the last year and a half, we have worked with our various partners to come up with our visions, and now we are live here in Kuusamo studio. Here in studio I have Satu, Marianne and Sofia. And they are all part of the youth behind organization the Kuusamo Summit 2020. So guys, what are your expectations from this event?
I am looking forward to seeing all of this come together. It is very exciting to be here after over a year of work. I'm also excited to hear from our speakers. We have an amazing lineup coming up, and I'm hopeful that this will be a successful event.
Yes, we will hear amazing speeches with interesting topics. And one which I'm waiting for is what Marja Rissanen has to say about ISL fiber.
Yeah, I totally agree with Satu and Marianne about it's been, we worked hard on making this event happen, and it's been great. And now it's great to see the whole event happening finally. And I'm expecting to raise awareness about sustainable development. I hope the people who are watching this wants to participate the discussion and share their thoughts and ideas and questions with us.
Okay. So, also, how are you feeling about this live event when it changed to this internet live event, and we're just sitting in our studio and talking about this? So, how are you feeling?
I'm excited. This is totally new for me, and it's been a learning experience, but I'm very excited.
Yes, it's the same. And it's interesting to see how this technique and all will work. I hope it's gonna be fine, go well.
Yeah, it's exciting and a bit nervous actually as well to see how this whole event is coming together, but very exciting.
I also hope that the tech and everything works out as it should. And without further ado, let's kick off this event with our first presentations and move back to Helsinki.
Dear listeners, welcome back to the studio where Otto Sillanauke, an expert in the circular economy and the maintainer of the Nollahukka blog, Marja Rissanen from Aalto University, who knows about the ecology of textile fibers and the life cycle of clothing, and Outi Puu, who knows about clothing maintenance, will talk about fashion and climate. But now our first poll question to the Kuusamo auditorium is, do you consider the climate when buying clothes? You can send your answer to our website kuusamosummit.com, where you can find our chat box. First, we will hear what Otto Sillanauke, who is known as a Nollahukka blogger, tell us about the circular economy. Go ahead, Otto.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm happy to get to start off this section on fashion and clothing. And I'm honored to be part of Kuusamo Summit here and getting to speak to all of you. Hope you all can hear me well behind your screens. What I want to do today is to paint the big picture of what's going on with textiles regarding sustainability and how they contribute to the wicked problems of today. And I'll end my presentation by briefly discussing a couple big solutions that could make the whole textile system more sustainable. So, my background is in zero waste and circular lifestyles and sustainable consumption, which I talk about on social media. You can find me on Instagram at nollahukka. But during the past year, I've also been studying the textile and fashion industry in more depth as part of my master's thesis at university. And I'm interested in understanding how businesses could work to change their whole industry towards a more sustainable direction. Here you can see a little snippet from my thesis. So this is my research question that guided my study. It's quite in an academic and complex form, but essentially what I'm asking is that what types of companies could change the whole textile industry in a way that makes it more sustainable permanently? In order to understand this, I wanted to look into what are the environmental impacts of textiles so that I could then understand how different actors could actually contribute to making them less bad. And in this presentation, I'll be focusing on the environmental challenges of textiles, even though we all know that textiles have also many social challenges as well. So, the two biggest environmental challenges of our time are climate change and biodiversity loss. Textile production contributes to climate change through many ways, but most centrally it does so because it's so material intensive. In order to produce textiles, you need to use a lot of raw materials, water, energy, and chemicals. How you treat all of this has an impact on our climate and our environment. But because a lot of textile production happens in less developed countries with less environmental regulation, textiles cause a lot of, to name a few, chemical and plastic pollution, wastewater, and waste materials, which all have a negative impact on our climate. The other wicked problem that we're facing today is biodiversity loss. Some say that we're living in the era of a sixth mass extinction, which means that a great number of species are already at risk of dying or have already died out due to the way that we humans behave on this planet. This is bad for us because we rely on biodiversity, for example, to keep our environment stable, to get food, and fight off diseases. Studies have shown that 90% of biodiversity loss today is caused by the amount of materials that we take out from the earth in order to produce all that stuff that we consume. The rising global population and the increasing consumption that follows has been argued to cause biodiversity loss because of this reason. The key message here is that the amount of physical things that we consume contributes to a lot of climate change and biodiversity loss. Textiles are very material intensive, so they affect both of these problems significantly. So the role of textiles is manifold. With textiles, I refer to the textile industry, which creates all of the materials, fibers, and textiles that we use in clothing and other productions. The clothing industry, which is responsible for making all of our clothing, and the fashion industry that significantly affects the way that we buy and use clothing. We need clothes to protect ourselves. We also use clothes to tell others about who we are by building our identities. But nowadays we consume way more clothing than what we actually need. Globally, we consume around 80 billion pieces of clothing every single year. That's such a big number that none of us can really understand how big it actually is. But to put another big number on it, it's about 400% more than what we used to consume only 20 years ago. Because of this huge amount that we consume, the environmental impact of textiles is big. For example, clothing consumption is responsible for up to 10% of EU climate impact, which means it's the fifth largest source of greenhouse gases from our lifestyles. Globally, the clothing industry's carbon footprint has been estimated to be as big as the carbon footprint of all European member states. That's more carbon emissions than flying and shipping combined. This environmental impact is strongly associated with the raw material production used in textiles. natural and synthetic materials cause many different negative effects, both on the climate and the local environments they're produced in. For example, cotton requires a lot of water and chemicals, and many of the most popular synthetic materials are made from oil. All material production has environmental impacts, but they're made a lot worse for the environment because there are more and more of us people who want to consume more and more clothing every year. The fashion, and especially fast fashion industry, has contributed a lot to this increase in clothing consumption. They have made fashion accessible to many people, which can be seen as a good thing, but at the same time, they have significantly contributed to making the whole industry more unsustainable. Fast fashion requires low prices so that they can sell new products to us all the time. These lower prices are the result of poor quality and cheap production processes that come at the cost of the environment and the well-being of the people who make our clothes. The fashion industry sells us clothing by creating new needs for us based on imagination, because we already have all the clothes that we need to survive. The fashion industry also needs new clothes all the time in order to simply exist. It needs to constantly reinvent styles to make itself relevant. We buy more and more clothing because we want to use them to show our friends that we're stylish and we're trendy. But the problem is that trends today are very short-lived. They change almost every week. This means that you have to buy and own new clothes every single week in order to stay trendy. And where do those old clothes go when you don't want to use them anymore? Either your wardrobe or your trash. And this is the problem, because up to 80% of textiles we consume are wasted without ever being reused, recycled, or best yet, never being used in the first place. Either we don't have the means or the opportunity to recycle the textiles that we use, or they can't be recycled because they haven't been made to be recycled. So they end up being burned or landfilled, which means that all of the materials used in textiles is wasted, maybe even without having used at all. And all because we want to buy new clothes, and all because we want to get to wear new clothes all the time. We need to take more and more materials out of the earth in order to produce these new pieces. This is not sustainable because it's a completely linear way of thinking. We take, we make, and we waste, which is not sustainable on a planet with limited natural and renewable resources. The problem is not recycling these materials because of the environmental impact it has on climate change and biodiversity loss, but it's also like throwing away money. If we would use the materials more, we could save the environment and economic side as well. But the problem is quite wicked because, as I said, clothing are not made to be recycled nowadays, and we still lack the technology to recycle all the different materials that we use. So the clothing industry is unsustainable in all three dimensions of sustainability: the environment, the economy, and the social side as well. So the problem is that we have a whole system that is essentially linear, using a lot of resources without recycling them at all. Also, because our clothing consumption is based on ownership, every one of us has to have the same t-shirt in order to be trendy. That means that we can't really reuse the resources as effectively as we should. So how could we make textiles and clothing more sustainable then? Well, the first step would be to make everything more circular. Textiles should be made to last long so that they can be reused and recycled. We also need to change the way that we consume clothes. We should move away from owning everything ourselves to renting and using clothing as a service, perhaps. For example, we could rent those special pieces that we only use for a couple times instead of having to own them ourselves and storing them in our wardrobes. But we should also remember that reaching the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations and the climate targets set by the Paris Agreement to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees, we also need to reduce production of clothing in the future. We need to produce and consume less clothing. Making everything circular and service-based is not enough. This is something that shouldn't be forgotten when discussing how to make textiles more sustainable. Luckily, there are already many things that each of us can do already today to make this transition towards a more sustainable future happen sooner rather than later. So here's a list of 5 things that you can do in order to make textiles more sustainable. You can buy less and of better quality. You should buy secondhand whenever possible and use what you have for as long as you can by repairing and taking care of your clothes, which you'll get some great tips on a bit later. And then recycle your clothes instead of throwing them away and repeat this process. Thank you so much for listening to me. You can follow me and find more information on Instagram at Nollahukka, and have a great summit.
Thank you so much, Otso, for the great presentation. Before we move on to the next presentation, I would like to ask about what kind of choices can I make as a young person in my life for a better future?
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
But first of all, I would say that there are tons of different things that every single one of us can do in our daily lives to make our actions more sustainable. The internet is filled with different kinds of tips and tricks on how to shop better, how to live more sustainably and everything. But a big thing that I would say that we as young people really have to focus on is to talk about these things more. Talk about what is a circular economy? What is a circular lifestyle like? What is a more sustainable lifestyle like? How does it look in your life? And share these stories with each other, with our families, with our friends, with other people that we meet, so that we start to build the big story about what a sustainable future actually looks like in practice, so that then more and more people can start living along that story as well.
Yes, thank you so much for the great answers and the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to the next presentation. I would like to Marja Rissanen, what kind of thoughts she has. She is from Aalto University, and she will talk about how to take care of our clothing. Hi, Marja.
Hello, can you?
Yes, we can hear you. The stage is yours.
Okay, hello, and thanks for the great opportunity to give this presentation. And yeah, greetings from my home office from Lempäälä. And at least also just gave great presentation. And next slide, I'm starting my presentation. And here you can see that the total textile fiber production is a little bit more than 1 million tons per year, and around 60% is used for clothing. It's a lot of textile fibers. The most of the textile fibers are from virgin feedstocks, and 2/3 are from fossil-based sources. It means that they are made from crude oil. Globally, the most of clothes are landfilled in the end of life, and in addition, even 500,000 tons of microplastic particles from non-biodegradable textiles end up in the environment. And in the next slide, you can see our process in a very simple way. Well, ion cell technology could be answer to these environmental problems of textile and clothing industry. It is developed in the collaboration of Aalto University and University of Helsinki. The raw materials are renewable or recycled, and ion cell process can use both wood pulp and cellulose-containing waste. All the chemicals and water used in the ion cell process can be recycled. And of course, we are aiming to the closed loop operation where ion cell textiles in the end of life can be recycled back to the process. And in the next slide, you can see a little bit more detailed the process. And ion cell technology can turn used textiles, pulp, or even old newspapers and cardboard into new textile fibers without any harmful chemicals. And in the next slide, you can see more about the fiber properties. Ion cell fibers are lyocell type fibers, and lyocell type fibers are among the lowest environmental impact. Our ion cell fibers are very strong even when they are wet, so it means that it's possible to make long-lasting textiles and clothes from ion cell fibers. Ion cell fibers are soft, feels comfortable, and they absorb moisture. And ion cell fibers can be dyed or printed with similar dyes as cotton or viscose. And ion cell fibers are biodegradable and they are not causing any microplastic problems. And in the next slide, you can see mechanical properties of ion cell fibers. And as I said, in addition to being 100% environmentally friendly and sustainable, ion cell is of very good quality. If we look just this chart, we can see that ion cell is clearly the best option compared to all of these well-known textile fibers. And in the next slide, you can see some of our demo products. In Aalto University, we have possibilities to make several kind of textile demo products. We have small yarn spinning machinery, knitting machines, and weaving machines. So we can make the whole process from the textile fibers to the final textile and clothing product. And for example, you can see on the right side the table runner. For example, this demo product is made in the collaboration with Marimekko. And in the next slide, you can see more our demo products. This is probably our most famous demo product, the gala dress made to our First Lady, Jenni Haukio. And the designers of this product were students of Aalto University. And in the next slide, you can see more our demo products as well. These are 100% made from 100% ion cell fibers. And both designers are Aalto University students. And the fibers are made in our ion cell fiber laboratory, and the yarns and the knitwear is made at Aalto University. And in the next slide, you can see our newest demo product. And this is made as well in the collaboration with Marimekko. And in the next slide, as I said, it's possible to make textiles from waste material. All these demo products you can see in this slide are made from waste material. For example, this scarf is made from old jeans, as well as this blue shirt is made from waste textile. And the demo product on the right side, it's made from old newspaper. So we just grind the newspaper, made new textile fibers, make the new yarn, and finally this textile product. And in the next slide, I'm showing a short video where you can see our textile recycling. So we are just working in very small scale, but first we just cut the fabric into small pieces, then we grind it into fine powder. Then we mix it with non-harmful ionic liquid, and the end product is this kind of sticky dough, and then it goes to our fiber spinning line, and the filaments just enter to a coagulation bed, and it's containing only water. The fibers are collected into drums, and they are called codets. They are washed and dried, and then they goes to our yarn spinning lab. Here is our carding machine. Then the fiber web is turned into small sliver. It goes to drafting machine. Then we made it into rowing, and then to our ring spinning frame. And then the yarn goes to knitting machine. Then it finished. And now you can see the final product. So this is how we make jeans into new textiles. Okay, this was the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Maria Rissanen, for the great presentation. I would also like to ask you one question. What kind of choices can I or some other young person do in their everyday life?
What kind of choices concerning textiles and clothing? Of course, I would say that just decide that do you really need new clothes? If you need new clothes, just try to buy clothes which are long-lasting. You can just wear those clothes a long time. The design is such that you can just, it looks nice even in the next year. Just check the labels. Are the textiles made from renewable or recycled materials, and just try to buy always what is the best choice, environmentally best choice.
Yes, thank you so much, Maria Rissanen, for the great advice. Next, we will hear blogger and fashion designer Outi Pyy's presentation about fashion. Welcome, Outi.
Hi guys, super happy to be here today, and my name is Outi Pyy, and I am a walking encyclopedia of fashion and textiles, and especially sustainable fashion. You can check my Instagram on outi.pyy, and there I talk about body image, I talk about clothes, I talk about sustainable consumption, basically everything related to clothes and textiles. But today I'm going to talk to you about the very sexy topic of laundry and wardrobe maintenance, which means basically everything that you do at home so that all the clothes that you buy will last a longer time. And let me tell you why. When people when people think about garment care, they usually think about laundry. But there's so much more to that in this. It's also about, it's not just also about ecological issues and water consumption, but also about consumer behavior and the clothes that we buy. They have a direct impact on the people that make them and the communities that are a part of the manufacturing process. And this is why clothes are always because clothes are always made with people. They're not made with machines. So if the consumer does not value the textiles and as a functional everyday object that should be taken care of and cherished, just like a mobile phone or a car, then that work that all these people do to make the clothes for you is also undermined. So it's not just about water, it's also about people. When talking about the water footprint of textiles, it's not just about, or just talking about the water footprint of a single garment. The attention should be focused on the manufacturing process instead of the washing itself. A typical machine cycle is only about 40 to 90 liters of fresh water, which sounds a lot, but it's really not. But in production, the water footprint can be calculated in thousands of liters of water, fresh water, and also in drinking years. For example, just one pair of jeans, which is made usually from 95% cotton or 100% cotton, it weighs about 80 grams, and if you change that into drinking years and water, it's about 10,000 liters of water, which equals about 17 years in drinking water, just for one person. So whenever I buy something new from the secondhand store, whenever I get a new pair of denim, I'm thinking about that, about the water liters that are in that product. So that's a good idea to remember. So it's not about how much water you use when you wash them. On the other hand, some materials, especially man-made petroleum-based fibers like polyester, for example, polyester, which counts half of the fiber production globally, they have a very high CO2 footprint because there's not much water used in the process. Polyamide is another one, also known as nylon, which has a very, it actually has the highest carbon footprint of the common fibers that we use every day. And real fur has an even more higher carbon footprint, but we don't use that every day. And nylon is used, for example, like in pantyhose and sometimes sportswear and other fabrics like this that you use that need to be very durable. But many of us know that the CO2 emissions, they can be, you know what they are when you're driving and when you're flying, but also keep in mind that the CO2 emissions, they are a part of everything we buy, just like clothes, and so they also have an impact. So this is why all of these materials that our clothes are made of, they should be valued as also and taken care of and not just like tossed into the machine. The media talks a lot about microplastics, and we're going to talk about them today. And globally, they're definitely a huge issue when it comes to waste management, especially in developing countries, and cosmetics industry, and so on. You've all seen the news. But I have good news for you when it comes to textiles and when it comes to living in Finland, because Finland has an excellent water waste management infrastructure. This means that whatever you put in the machine, even though it's like fleece or some other baddie from the textile industry, it means that when you wash it, the waste management facility, they will catch almost every microplastic that you put in there. So don't worry about microplastics in laundry, if you live in Finland. You don't have to worry about that at all. Just make sure you know what to put in there. But a big part of the ecological wardrobe maintenance is keeping some clothes out of the machine, and you have to help the machine to do its job, and if you want to be like a pro-level eco-fashionista, you have to read up on stain removal, especially manual stain removal. I've written loads of articles about this into my blog, and here are some basics that you need. But most of these you'll probably find in your kitchen. And you'll need soda water. This is an excellent sort of like first aid when you get those stains on, if you're like out of your house. You can get that basically anywhere, like restaurants and everywhere. And lemon is really good, fresh lemon, not the juice, but fresh lemons. Baking soda, you can find that in any kitchen. That's excellent. You can use that for loads of things. Gold soap, wool soap. Then there's distilled vinegar, which is really good for wardrobe maintenance. I'll talk to you more about that. And sometimes you need also alcohol or cleaned benzene, because alcohol is sort of like the anti-force of grease. So you can use that very simply. But I've written more about that, so check my blog. But here are some things that I think you should keep out of the machine, because I think most of the times people sort of, they ruin their garments by washing them too much, and I've seen this a lot of times. So these are things that you should not put in a machine. Knitwear that's made from genuine hair fibers like wool, cashmere, or alpaca, and clothes that have lining like jackets and skirts, and also vintage clothes, because for them it's so much better to take care of them by taking them out to air, steam them with a clothing steamer, definitely not an iron, but a clothing steamer, and manually remove these stains. And because the washing machine it's actually quite violent, because the rinsing cycle, it's very heavy, and when you take the clothes out of the machine, sometimes it's really hard to get the water out of them. So keep these things out of the machine, and because the machine, you might not see the effect right now, but the machine will definitely shorten the lifespan of these clothes. But people do sweat, and sometimes they smell. This is super normal, and I would actually be very worried if your body would not do these things. But to protect your clothes from these things like sweat, you have to, I recommend using like underskirts and tops and undershirts and all these, because these are something that you can wear every day and you can wash every day, and even in high temperatures. They are meant to be used a lot. And they're very durable usually. So put those, like I have one right now. So put those under your garments, and that way you don't have to wash this that often. Then this is the feared chart. All clothes have washing symbols inside them when you look at the details, and these are meant to give you like guidelines on how to machine wash your clothes if you decide to do that. But these markings actually, they tell you a lot more than just a temperature. Note that the temperature is only marked as maximum. So yes, if there's a temperature marked on the garment, then it means that machine washing is allowed, but it's not mandatory. So you can also wash it by hand, or just manually remove the stain from the area that it was in. So you don't even have to put it in the machine always. And always, if you see that there are these lines under the temperature, it means that it needs a delicate cycle. So you have to check that the program that you're using in your machine has a delicate rinse cycle. So it's lower cycles, so that you won't basically spin your clothes to death. And here are some detergents that are definitely good and definitely ecological. I think the most, like the quickest step that you can do today is make sure that you're using something like this, like these instead of your like normal chemicals, because these are definitely good for the environment. But just make sure that when you buy them, when your family buys them, that there is an environmental symbol on them, just like, for example, Joutsenmerkki, which is the green dot that you see there. But these are one of the good guys, and this is the easiest way to move yourself into the ecological side. Then there's also some of the more hippie ways. The eco ball is something that you can definitely use when you go to study. That actually, it's only that one ball that you use in the machine, and basically you don't have to buy any detergents. You just use that. And gall soap and lanolin soap are something that's good to have around the house. I've mentioned them before because they are excellent. That you can use them in a variety of things that I can't even get into now. But you can read more about it in my blog. Then there are the sodas. When you're looking up, because it's really trendy right now to DIY things, but when you're looking up DIY detergent instructions, just make sure that you'll definitely come across these sodas, but just make sure that you look up recipes that are made in Finland, sort of like, and published by Finnish people, because if you look at something that's made in the US, they have different chemical laws, they have different types of water, so you can't really use those instructions in Finland. So just make sure that they apply to us. And there's many different types of soda, and only household soda, which is the first one, and baking soda, they're suitable for laundry. And remember that household soda, it's very alkaline, so it should not be handled without gloves, because you can feel it in your fingers. But these are definitely something that you should try. And here are my instructions. I've written about them, how to make laundry powder and how to use it in your home, so you can check that out from my blog. There's a long text and everything. And here are some soaps. The reason why, if you have like real wool clothes, if you have alpaca and cashmere clothes, you need a different type of detergent for them, because lamb's wool actually has grease on it. This is the grease that makes lamb's wool like the best material ever, because that's the thing that the grease makes you warm, actually. So if you wash that with something else than a detergent that has grease in itself, then it means that you're taking out all the good from wool. So, and the grease is called lanolin. So it's a really good idea to use the type of detergents that's especially designed for, or the soaps that are definitely designed for wool. And everybody needs also a fabric softener. I know this is a big no-no, and I know half of people in Finland probably don't use it at all, but I recommend using it. But I recommend that you use distilled vinegar, because the reason why the end of the cycle needs something very sour is that when you wash your clothes, the fibers, they open up, just like hair with shampoo. And when you're done, they should also close, but they don't close unless you put the fabric softener in there. And vinegar is really good with this, but especially distilled vinegar. It also helps to keep your machine fresh and odorless, and the clothes fresh, so it's really a good idea to use. And it's not that expensive anyway, so I recommend that to everybody. And it suits all clothing types. And when you get into this hi-fi clothing maintenance, these are some things that you could use. Make sure you have thread and needle at your home. Make sure you know how to use them. Lint remover, excellent, almost therapy. And so these are a good idea to get. And also remember to take care of your machine. It's not a servant that will take care of itself, so you have to take care of it. Citric acid is something that you should put in the machine twice a year, so it'll keep it nice and fresh. And I'm so glad you joined in today. And if you have any questions about ecological fashion or wardrobe maintenance, you can always DM me on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Outi, for the very great and important presentation. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked the other presentations. What can I do as a young person in my everyday life for a better future?
Well, when it comes to clothing, I think there's loads of things that you can do. But what, as a young person, can do right now is, well, if you get into wardrobe maintenance now, it's going to make your life a lot easier when you're older, because then you have a lot more, totally different problems by then. Also, secondhand is an excellent option, because if you're buying clothes that are secondhand, it takes down all the water footprints, the CO footprint, everything like this. And it's also very inexpensive. So secondhand is a good idea. But what I wish that all people would do, young people, but also definitely young people can do this, is that they can give feedback to companies. It's not a good idea to go to the stores and complain to the sales staff over there, but just remember to send feedback to the companies, because they actually read them and they do have an impact. And this is where I hope that young people would use their voice and their multitude, so they read them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Outi, Marja, and also Otso for the great presentations. Now we are going to see our first poll survey results. We see now somewhere here, there. How many respondents think about the climate when buying clothes? Interesting. Very nice. Thank you. Now we are also going to see a TikTok made by Billy and the Youth. Thank you so much for the very creative TikTok. Next, we will move on to our next topic, which is food. But first, we will visit Kuusamo juusto.
Me ollaan menossa tapaamaan Kuusamon juuston toimitusjohtaja Jarmo Oksmania ja kysymään, että mitä paikallinen juustovalmistaja tekee kestävämmän tulevaisuuden puolesta vai tekeekö se mitään?
Me ollaan tämän alueen toisiksi suurin tämmöinen teollinen työnantaja. Meillä on noin 80 henkilöä on täällä töissä ja sitten alihankintaketjussa meillä on noin 20. Nämä paikalliset maidontuottajat perusti Kuusamon juuston yli 60 vuotta sitten ja jo silloin niin kun maidontuottajat ajatteli, että pienennetään sitä hiilijalanjälkeä, koska maito oli sitten kätevämpi viedä juustona tuonne markkinoille tiivistetyssä muodossa. Meillä toiminnassa otetaan tietysti ilmastonmuutos vakavasti ja keräilyreitit on optimoitu ja pyritään ajamaan mahdollisimman täysillä autoilla, pienennetään sitä hiilijalanjälkeä. Ja täällä Pohjois-Suomessahan ei kasva oikeastaan vilja lainkaan, että tämä maidontuotanto perustuu täällä nurmirehutuotantoon ja nurmihan on tosi hyvä hiilensitoja. Se on monivuotinen kasvi ja se sitoo koko ajan hiiltä. Mutta muutoin meillä niin kun tuotannossa käytetään pakkausmateriaalit on biopohjaisia kierrätettäviä materiaaleja, joka on valmistettu Suomessa ja jokainen kilo, mitä tehdään sitä pakkausmateriaalia, niin sitoo yli 2 kiloa hiiltä siinä valmistuksen aikana. Me ei käytetä lainkaan täällä fossiilisia polttoaineita, öljyä lämmöntuotannossa, vaan kaikki höyry- ja lämpöenergia tuotetaan paikallisella bioenergialla. Ja myös pyritään tuomaan esille näitä kotimaisen juuston hyviä puolia. Ja ei ole missään tapauksessa järkevää niin tuoda juustoja maailman ääristä ja kuljettaa niitä pitkiä matkoja, vaan kannattaa suosia kotimaisia. Tässä vaan niin muutamia esimerkkejä, miten pyritään toimimaan tämän ilmastonmuutoksen ehkäisemiseksi.
Dear listeners, welcome back to the studio. In the food-related poll, we ask you, do you think about the environment in your diet? You can send your answer here at the kuusamosummit.com. I'm here in our main studio with Alina Starjak from Zero Waste Suomi, which promotes the sustainable lifestyle and zero waste mindset. Next, Alina will give us a presentation about zero waste. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, I'm Alina Starjak. I'm originally from Poland, and I am a founding member of Polish Association Zero Waste. I live in Finland now, and I am a board member of Zero Waste Finland ry. I write also a blog called Finnish Inspirations. I write mostly on food preservation methods and zero waste issues. Zero waste means aiming at reducing the amount of waste. The ideal of it is empty dustbin. The model is taken from the nature where waste does not exist. There is just a constant cycle of changes. And what was discarded is designed for something else as a resource and to be reused. That is why talking about zero waste is close to talking about circular economy. And as for food waste, the idea would be to let wasted nutrition back into the circulation and close the loop. Zero waste as the lifestyle was started by Bar Johnson, who invented the rule of 5R: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot, which help to live less waste life. At our association, we promote such lifestyle, educating on sustainability in everyday life. And we are also interested in more systematic changes that would make such life possible and easier. Food waste is a serious problem. If we're speaking about food waste, we're speaking about much more than just food being wasted and thrown away. We speak about huge amount of resources that were used at each stage of food production process, and such as waste of energy, water and nutrition, land, also our work, human work efforts, money, and more. Behind even a small amount of food that was wasted, there is a long process, there is a long chain of processes and usage of resources. It also contributes to the increased amount of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and that way affects the climate. As for the example, waste of energy is so that food sector is using the third part of all energy global need. If food waste were a country, it would be the third biggest polluter after China and the United States. When food is that was intended for the people to eat, but produced unnecessarily, whether it is left on the field and not being harvested, or dumped in the landfill, or ends up as mixed waste and consequently being burned, it makes a huge amount of greenhouse gases being released to the atmosphere. Even if it is selectively collected as bio-waste and not contaminated by other waste and composted in aerobic way or composted at home, which are zero waste advice, still some carbon dioxide is emitted. There is no other better option than prevent food waste. Food waste happens at every stage of food production process, but most of it happens in our households, at our fridges, and our cupboards. Finns throw away, so produce food waste of 20 to 25 kilogram per person yearly on average. What seems to be a little amount on everyday basis. It accumulates and makes meaningful amounts. So what would be the suggestions to avoid food waste? Commonly, it is a lack of planning of shopping and later meals. It is the reason why why that food waste happens. And if we stop for a moment and we think, we can try to plan our shopping and meals better. And if planning fails, be creative. Many good recipes happen by accident. So rethink your attitude to recipes and making meals. Another point may be buying food in large packets because of lower price, though we know that we are not able to use that much. So the zero waste advice would be to reduce and insist on possibility to buy by weight that amount that we need. We may be also unable to distinguish what is the difference between best before and the last date of use. That is quite misleading. But using senses to assess whether food can still be eaten or not would help. There may be, there are many prejudices what what parts of the vegetables, for instance, can be eatable and which are not. And some good preserving, food preserving methods may be forgotten. Learning on them pays, and pays literally. We may suggest such challenges. Calculate for 1 week how much money you throw in the trash when the food you bought was left unused. Another challenge would be to try to make such changes in your cupboard and in your fridge that you would remember better what you've already got. Go to your fridge and cupboard for food first. What else we can do to minimize the amount of food waste? Buying seasonal food and buying local as far as possible helps to shorten the supplier chains and minimize the usage of resources. In Finland, we've got, for instance, such direct selling points, and there is something like for consumption called Reko, where you can buy food without a middleman. And certainly, the excellent idea is to grow your own food. It can be in your garden and or in on your balcony. And here in Finland, we can in capital region, we've got also city gardens or parks where from you can get food. Certainly, buying food like zero waste people do is recommendable. It means buying to your own containers and to your own bag, avoiding single-use disposable bags, containers, and changing your habits and attitude to the packaging. Some of it is absolutely unnecessary. It's just because of old habits. And yes, changing our consumer expectations. The sellers will eagerly sell what we eagerly buy. So we've got the power. In state-run facilities, it would be advisable to insist on food waste amounts getting measured. And when waste happens, because it has to be admitted that some food waste is inevitable, but then when it happens, collect it separately so that it could be composted and composted in possibly best way. I would also recommend one more activity, that is sharing. That is something that I like most, and it is there is such a place in capital region like community fridge called Keru, and generally sharing the food that because of changes of our routines or everyday life, that we've got some redundant food. It is much better to leave the food that you know that you would not use in that fridge than to put it into the waste bin, even if it was the bio waste.
Yes, thank you so much, Alina Starjak, for the very important and the great presentation. I have also one question for you. When we think about zero waste, what easy things can I do in my everyday life?
Well, the easiest thing would be to make the decision. Yes. The decision that food is something precious, and that you try to use it when it arrived at your home or at your plate, was it at the restaurant or wherever, and changing some routines at home, that places, cupboard and fridge, they are very, very important. Making some efforts to let you see better what you've already got. What seems at the beginning difficult, it becomes a routine, and you can do it automatically.
Yes.
And it does not have to be anything difficult.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Alina Starjak, for the very important presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before we move on to the next guest, I would like to remind you to answer our poll question. And I'm going to remind you, what was it? It was, do you think about the environment in your diet? You can send your answer to our website, kuusamosummit.com. I'm here with Valo Kainulainen. Valo, you work in the Vegan Association, which strives to promote people's awareness of the issue and support for veganism. What are the reasons for this diet or lifestyle?
Well, there are many reasons to go vegan. There is, of course, the animal ethics, how the animals are treated in factory farming. There is also the environmental impact, because factory farming is responsible for a very large amount of the greenhouse gases that are produced yearly, up to 15% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And also, a vegan diet, if done properly, is very good for your health and well-being until old age.
Yes. How do you see climate issues affecting your decisions?
Well, I personally choose as much locally grown food as possible. And I also support, I wish that people would buy more local produce and choose plant-based products in their most natural form, so without processing or packaging.
Yeah. What kind of things would you like to see happen in our world if you think about food production?
Well, I think it's very important to reduce and completely stop factory farming, because it is causing so much greenhouse gas emissions. It is not good for the animals, and it's not good for our health. So I think it would be very important. And also in farming, I think it's a good idea to move into a more biodiverse type of farming. Instead of planting just one type of crop, we would, in one large area, we would plant multiple types of crops and change the crops that are planted, because that way the soil stays healthier, and also it is a more friendly place for the animals to live, for the wild animals, because the farms that are very large actually harm the wild animals.
Yeah. Valo, as a vegetarian, for me this next question is very important, and I would like to get some tips. So how could you easily get involved in veganism?
Well, you can just choose different products when you go to the store, because ultimately what you buy is what you will end up eating. So you can buy a lot of fruits and vegetables, you can try different ones, you can see what you like and experiment. You can search for recipe inspiration online. There's a very large amount of recipes available. And you can also eat many types of fruits and vegetables raw, so you can make up your own recipes and be inventive.
Yeah.
And you can also switch if you're consuming a lot of meat and animal products. You can start consuming more legumes, nuts and seeds, which give the nutrients that you would get from animal products on an otherwise like omnivorous diet.
Yeah. Thank you, Valo, for the very good answers and very good advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we are going to see the results of the poll. We asked you if the climate affects your diet, and this is how many of you said it does. Yes, you can see it now there. And thank you everyone for the answers. It's very interesting to see and amazing to see that so many of you are thinking about the environment when you're choosing your diet. Thank you so much. Next we move on to talk about cosmetics with journalist and blogger Nora Schingler. Our poll question for this section is, do you think about environment when you use your cosmetics? You can send your answers to our chat box, kuusamosummit.com. Before Nora starts her presentation, we will hear a few thoughts on the topic and visit the Kuusamo wastewater treatment plant.
Today I'm going to show you how to make this delicious curry, and it's entirely vegan. Let's go.
This recipe is super simple, it's one of my favourites and it tastes great. There's only a few ingredients, so what we'll do is we'll dice the onions nice and small, and do the same with the garlic, chop that up. Once that's all done, add a splash of oil to the pan and let those two simmer in there. Once they're looking a bit cooked, add the curry powder and stir that in and let it cook. Add the flour, it's going to look a little bit dry, but don't worry, we're then going to add the stock a little bit at a time and it becomes nice and saucy. Once this is simmered for a few minutes and all the stock's in there, add the coconut milk, stir it and allow it to simmer for a little bit longer. Once this is done, all you have to do is add a splash of soy sauce and a little sugar if you like.
And there you go, a simple vegan curry. You can serve it however you want. I'm having it with noodles today, and I hope you give it a go and enjoy it.
Thank you, Sahra. Now we're here in Kuusamon Evo to talk with Kimmo Viinikka about the way they filter out the harmful chemicals in the local water systems. Let's go have a little chat with him.
Evo on lyhenne sanasta Kuusamon energiavesiosuuskunta, eli olemme 1950 perustettu yksityinen osuuskunta, joka hoitaa Kuusamon ja Ruka-alueen vesiviemäri- ja kaukolämpötoiminnan. Viemäriin kuuluu se tavara, mitä me itse prosessoidaan oman kehon läpi, eli sinne ei mitään muuta laitettaisi. Kaikki tämmöiset vanutupot, kemikaalit, ylimääräiset kemikaalit, topsipuikot, ne ei kuulu sinne ja ne aiheuttaa ylimääräistä kuormaa, eli laitetaan ne sinne jätteiden mukaan, minne ne kuuluu. Meidän toiminnastahan muodostuu tuhkaa, lietteitä ja näiden niin kuin, kehittämistä pyritään tehostamaan, eli saamaan tämä meidän toiminnasta tuleva lopputuote niin mahdollisimman tehokkaasti luonnon kiertokulukuun takaisin. Että meillä on niin kuin konkreettisia esimerkkejä, on tuhkarakeistaminen, jolla tuhkasta tehdään metsälannoitetta, eli saadaan taas mettä kasvamaan. Yksi, mikä on aika paljon nostanut nykypäivänä päätä, on mikromuovit. Eli jätevesiprosessihan käsittelee mikromuoveja aika tehokkaasti, mutta tämä lietteen käsittely, eli jos me pystyttäisiin polttoa tehostamaan tai polttamaan tämä liete, niin me saataisiin niin mikromuovit käsiteltyä aika lailla 99%. Pyritään aika tehokkaasti niin kuin optimoimaan kautta vähentämään kemikaalien käyttöä. Esimerkiksi nykypäivänä on tekoäly tullut mukaan, joka analysoi koko ajan, mitä siellä tapahtuu ja pyrkii energian käytön ja kemikaalien määrät minimoimaan siihen niin sanotusti tulokuormaan sen optimaalisen puhdistustuloksen saamiseksi. Minun niin kuin henkilökohtainen mielipide niin kuin yksinkertaistettuna, että me jokainen voidaan omilla kulutustottumuksillaan ja tämmöisillä vaikuttaa meidän ympäristön tilaan ja sen kehittymiseen, että tämmöinen kierrättäminen, justiin nämä biohajoavat ja tämmöisen näin, niin aloitetaan tämä asia niin kuin omasta pesästä ja katsotaan sitten vasta ulkopuolelle.
Thank you so much for the TikTok and for the amazing and important video. Next up, we have Nora Schingler from NU Media. Welcome.
Thank you. So, hi everyone, my name is Nora Schingler, I'm a journalist and I have been writing about chemicals in cosmetic products for over a decade. And I also have my own cosmetic products range, and that has been a really good way to learn better, to understand how cosmetic products are built. Trust me, there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to have on your skin and that you don't need there either. First, let's talk about human health. So basically, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, lipstick, moisturizer. We apply hundreds of different chemicals on our skin daily, and there are chemicals that are suspected to cause different kinds of health problems. But the tricky thing is that you don't necessarily notice it right away. It's not like you get a rash immediately after applying it on your skin. For example, hormone-disrupting chemicals, they can cause health problems that show later in life or even after a decade, even in your grandchildren. Regarding EDC chemicals, there are three time frames when these kinds of chemicals are especially risky to human health. That is, 1, during pregnancy, when our hormonal system is being built. 2, the first year, when we are small, that is also a high-risk zone when being exposed to EDC chemicals. And the third time frame is as a teenager during puberty, when our body goes through big hormonal changes. The problems with EDC chemicals, hormone-disrupting chemicals, is that it's not the amount of a certain chemical that necessarily causes the problem. It's more complex. It's more about the time frame when it happens. The mechanism is like a switch. It doesn't matter if you swipe it with your finger or if you hit it with a hammer. Basically, when the light goes on, it's on. And with EDC chemicals, you cannot turn it off. And that is why it is super important to avoid chemicals that are suspected to be hormone disruptors. More of these chemicals after a couple of slides. So, no one can live totally chemical-free. People often ask me or say that because you live this chemical-free life, could you give some advice? But no one can do that. The whole nature is made of chemicals. But what I am talking about, and what I'm talking about when I talk about the risks, it's the man-made chemicals, the synthetic ones. They are the risk I'm interested in. And it's true that not everything in nature is safe either. There are poisonous and super strong chemicals growing even in the Finnish nature, but still the synthetic stuff, I would be more worried about that, since there are so many thousands of chemicals we have made by ourselves. And there's a lot of really new chemicals we don't know a lot about yet. I'm sure you have heard of parabens, for example, aluminiums, maybe PHMB. I don't go deeper in these groups of chemicals right now, but after a few slides I will show you how you can easily avoid these chemicals that are suspected to be harmful for us. I would say that the biggest problem right now is the lack of data. For example, in plastics. Micro and also nanoplastics are everywhere. We have plastics in cosmetic products, we have it in the drinking water, we have it in the clothes we wear, in the food we eat, in the air here when we are breathing. Many scientists think that compared to how much plastic we are exposed to daily, we know far too little about it. We should remove it if possible. That's impossible. But in a perfect world, we should remove it totally and take it back only after when we know if it's 100% safe. And the problem is with chemicals right now that you get them really easily on the market, but it's really hard to get them away from there. The situation is totally absurd. You would think that it's quite opposite, wouldn't you? That it's really hard to get a new chemical on the market and that it's easy to withdraw it. But it's not like that, it's the opposite. So, everything we apply on the skin is washed off. Well, a part of the chemicals that we absorb in the skin. The chemicals are going with the wastewaters to the wastewater plant, where the water is cleaned, well, as much as it can be cleaned. 80% of all the chemicals come from households. So basically, every one of us has really a big part in that, what we use and what we wash off, what goes to the wastewater plant. The cosmetic chemicals are so small particles that everything is not caught and the chemicals end up in nature. And the biggest polluters, maybe you wouldn't think, but it's us, women under 35. Well, I'm actually 39, but don't tell anyone. But we are the biggest polluters because of cosmetic products. So we really should be interested in what we use. So, when talking about chemicals in cosmetic products, there are number 1, the human health, but then number 2, there's the health of the nature. As I just mentioned, we pollute the nature with our everyday chemicals in cosmetics, and there are chemicals that are proven to harm marine life. Sunscreens. Maybe this is a topic you have heard of also. I use sunscreens as an example now since it's one of the most concrete examples around. In traditional sunscreens, there are UV filters that are known to harm the underwater nature in a very dramatic way. Coral reefs are losing their color and dying because of these synthetic chemicals. The reefs are also suffering from deformities and damaged DNA and fertility problems also. Besides problems in nature health, traditional sunscreens also often contain chemicals suspected to be endocrine disruptors. So both of the human and the nature point of view, it's a good idea to switch to more natural chemicals. And when we talk about the coral reefs, we don't have them here in Finland. But I think that even when we don't know what they exactly do in our waters, but because we know what they do to the corals, everyone should be avoiding to use them, also here in Finland, also in the north, even though we don't have the corals. But I'm quite sure that in the future we will know what these chemicals do in our waters. But as said, there's a lot of lack of data, and that's why we should be careful. Well, of course, we have to talk about animals. If we talk about human health and nature, the third thing is animal health. When talking about nature, animals, and cosmetics, many think of microplastics. You have probably seen news regarding the small plastic particles in toothpaste and scrubs, etc. But also glitter is basically microplastic. Plastic can be used also to make thickness in cosmetic products, and micro is not the only size of the plastic components in cosmetics. They can also be nanoplastic, that it's much smaller. And there are over 500 different kinds of plastic chemicals actually used in everyday cosmetic products. Plastic particles have been found even in the fish, even in the deepest oceans, in the animals living there, and on the highest mountains. So plastic is totally, basically everywhere. Of course, the micro and the nanoplastic and the cosmetic industry is not the only or the biggest problem. We know, we have all seen the plastic bags and plastic stuff lying around. But when we talk about endocrine disrupting problems, for example, in animals, the small particles have a big part to play in that. So here you see on this slide names of some plastic chemicals used in products. These are from 2017, the most common plastic chemicals used in cosmetic products. So as you see, it's not easy to find plastic on the ingredient list of a product, because it can be carbomer, it can be polyethylene, it can be nylon 12. You don't really know what is plastic. So, how to understand the ingredients? You can read them on the label, but you don't know what it means. So, here is a picture of a deodorant, I think it is. And on every cosmetic product, there's an INCI list. The INCI means International Nomenclature. Yeah, I forgot it. Let's check it here. Is it in the next slide? No, there it is. I didn't see it on my slide. Yeah, so International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients, that is. But this is really a hard way to understand cosmetic ingredients, because basically it's only a list about chemicals used in the product, and you really don't understand what it is. So you have a couple of options. Number one is to, try to understand the words and study your whole life regarding cosmetic chemicals, but maybe this is a little bit easier. There's many certifications around telling consumers that the product is certified. And these pictures here are from the website ProLuonnonkosmetiikka ry. That means the Association of Natural Cosmetics in Finland. The certificates mean that there are no synthetic chemicals in the products, and that the used ingredients also are not made from endangered species around, or plants, I mean. So some of these certificates indicate that the product is organic, and then others that it's natural cosmetics. The difference in these two is like, buying a carrot, an ordinary normal carrot from the food store, or buying an organic one. Both are a good choice. Both the organic and the natural cosmetics are a good choice. Then the third way to know what you actually are using on your skin, if you don't want to study your whole life learning the cosmetic ingredients by heart, and if there's, for example, no certificate around, because the natural cosmetic certificates cost money, and for example, the smallest brands maybe don't have the certificate, even though the chemicals used are natural. So the third way is to use an application called Cosmetics. It's basically a free app. Everyone can upload it. This is actually a Finnish innovation. And the app tells you what your products are made of. You simply scan the barcode on the products. All products have one barcode, almost everyone, every single one. And then the app tells you the ingredient on the product. There's different kinds of lists that you can use. You can switch on, for example, the plastics list, or hormone disruptor list, or vegan list even. Or you can make your own. even, for example, if you're allergic, it's really easy to implement your allergens on the app. And every time you use it, and if there is this chemical in the product, it gives you an alert, and then you know to avoid it. And then we have to talk shortly also about the vegan trend in cosmetic products, because vegan is something that is big on the food scene and also in the cosmetic scene. Basically, vegan means that there are no animal-derived ingredients in the product. For example, beeswax, honey, etc. And these are actually one of the few ingredients that are animal-based, that are used in cosmetics. There are not that many. But vegan does not mean a natural product. Vegan means only that there is nothing from animals. So basically, plastic is vegan. And as I mentioned, glitter is vegan. So from the health point of view, actually, animal-based products are better than vegan products because of, for example, plastics. So if you want to buy a vegan product, I would say always search for the certification so that it's both natural and vegan. Then you're safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nora, for that very good presentation. I learned so much new things. I have also a question for you. If we think about microplastic, what are some easy things that everyone can do in their everyday life?
Well, if we think of the big picture, the biggest polluter of microplastics is the car tire industry. So as a consumer, we cannot do much to that. I would say that you should think, if you think about microplastics, you should mostly think about your own health. You should think of the cosmetic products you apply on your skin, and you should think of the air you breathe at home. What kind of stuff you have around. For example, electric products have a lot of chemicals that are really bad for the air at home. So I would say use natural cosmetics and take care that you have good air at home and you're quite safe.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for the amazing presentation. Thank you. Next, dear listeners, we asked you if you think about environment when you use your cosmetics. And let's see what you answered. Looking interesting. Yeah. Thank you for the answers. Now we have a TikTok once again, so let's see the TikTok.
Take better care of your skin. I'm wondering, isn't that harmful? Isn't that wasteful? Well, I'm here to show you it's not. Firstly, this face wash I'm using, I made it myself. Here's how we did it.
Okay, so this is super simple. Take some coconut oil, melt it, and then we're going to add a touch of baking soda, and I added some tea tree oil so it smells nice.
Another thing you can do is invest in some reusable cotton buds, cotton pads, anything like that. I'm using these ones, they're absolutely great. And finally, you could even try making your own moisturizer like that. This is how I did it, and I think it's great.
Okay, this one's even simpler. All you do is take some coconut oil, I added some lavender, I mixed it, and that's it.
And there you go. There's a few natural do-it-yourself ways on how to look as beautiful as me.
Thank you so much for the creative TikTok. Kuusamo Summit has now reached its final section. At this point, I would like to thank everyone who attended the summit. It has been really interesting to spend the afternoon with all of you. Now let's go into our last topic, which is traveling. Our last poll question for you is, do you think about climate when you travel? You can join the discussion on our website, kuusamosummit.com. Next up, Kuusamo and Mats Lindfors.
Hello Kuusamo Summit and all younger and older people who participate in this summit. My name is Mats Lindfors. I work as the CEO of Ruka Kuusamo Tourist Association We are an organization that works together with all the tourist companies in the area to promote the area and make Kuusamo as the best destination for families to spend their vacation. You know that Kuusamo and northern part of Finland is a very remote area. One of the last wilderness in the world, it's said to be. And this is no wonder that slogans like in the middle of nowhere is used for a neighboring municipality. But I would say that Kuusamo is much more than just a place in the middle of nowhere. Kuusamo is one of the most popular tourist destinations among Finns and getting more and more popular also among our international guests. We are surrounded by 4 beautiful national parks. The spectacular and untouched nature and activities done in the woods and waters of Kuusamo are the main reasons to travel here both summer and winter. By this you can imagine that sustainability work to preserve nature, culture and social life is very important for us. By doing this we can give an opportunity to families to live in this remote but beautiful area in good balance with the surrounding and get a healthy outcome of it. So you could think that we have a certain obligation to act responsible, but actually I would like more to say that we, instead of seeing sustainability work as a must, we should look at it from the totally opposite side, as an opportunity we have, a thing that we can do because we can, not because we must. You and me, we can act responsible in smaller and bigger issues. We are in a very favorable situation where our responsible acts affect the future in a very positive way. And we make these acts because we can. The old saying, feed good thoughts and acts in small and big, and it will result in a better future.
Thank you, Mats, for giving us your point of view on how we should view our responsibility on the upcoming climate issues. Our next speaker, Sari Stark, has joined me here in our studio and will be giving us a more scientific view on the topic of travel. And before I give the stage to Sari, I would like to ask you to send any kind of questions considering the Sari's presentations to the chat box. And now, Sari, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Joni, very much for the introduction. And I am very honored to be here in this seminar, and I welcome everybody to listen to my experiences when we actually travel into science. And so I work as a researcher in the University of Lapland Arctic Center in Rovaniemi. So I have lived and worked in the north of Finland all my life. And I will continue introducing the work with the next slide. So first, I welcome everybody to my office. So we will travel to my working office now. And so as a biologist, I work in the forest and hills we have here in Finland. And I study the whole ecosystem, which includes plants, animals, soils, and all living organisms that are there in the soil, including both soil bacteria and fungi. And so when you look at these photographs, so depending on where you live in Finland, it could be that this you could see this just when you look outside your window from your home, or maybe it's not, or it wouldn't. But in any case, this nature is never very far from any of us here in Finland, and this is true both when you think that how far nature is from your doorstep, and that what is the impact of what is going on in nature for all of us. And when I work in the nature, I actually travel a lot. So you see this map of northern vegetation. So this is kind of the topic where I look at plants at the global level, but I also look at it as in a local level. And you see also this map that when you how vegetation is changing when you go up from the forest to high hills. The Finnish word for it is tunturi, and on the top of tunturi you would see no trees at all. So it is this kind of vegetation that I am actually studying. So next slide, please. So the focus on this seminar is to discuss that what can young people do now that the climate is changing, and all of us need to work together to fight the climate change. But what I am talking here is I tell you that what scientists and biologists are doing to find out what is happening in the nature. So when you look at the news, you hear a lot about the impacts and changes that we are observing, but it's more rare to kind of see behind the scenes and how this information that you get from the news is actually produced. So by this way, I hope to give you a glimpse about the everyday life in research and in which ways scientists try to contribute to solving the problems that we have at the moment. So the first thing that I want to express from our work is the next slide, please. Okay, so we need everybody to work together to fight the climate change. But actually, this is true also when we think about that how scientists are studying the climate change. So we work together as a team. So nature is very complex, and there are million things to study and observe. And even the best of scientists can do this alone, and we don't need to. So we always have a group of people that are working towards one goal. And here you see, for example, Elina is very good in identifying every plant species that we see in this nature, and Lars is there taking samples from the soil to analyze it, and then you see Maria and Sirkka who are analyzing the samples in the laboratory. So each of us has a different specialty that each of us is very good at, and so we gather all the information together, and then we at the end we then sum up everything together. Next slide, please. And what is important also to realize that we are looking at things that eyes actually cannot see. So when you go to the nature the next time, you can all try to imagine that what kind of things are going on there that you actually cannot see. So at the center of on the left you see a photograph taken very far in the north, near the Arctic Ocean, and you see a reindeer and vegetation, but under them are everything that is underground, and that's soil. So a lot is going on there, and there are a lot of living organisms that are so small in size that you need a microscope to see them, and so this is something that we look at because it's very important to know what is happening in the soil, and because that affects everything in the ecosystem. And then on the right you see Henny with some very, very funny looking equipment. So here we are actually measuring a very important process in the nature. So plants, they take away carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they release it as oxygen. And this process has very important meaning for the global climate as well as us, that we all dependent on plants. And carbon dioxide and oxygen are not something that we cannot see and smell it. So we need all these analyzers to then measure that what is happening in the photosynthesis in nature. And the whole point of the work is that we actually go there to the nature and we measure things, and because trying to analyze it is always better than just to trying to guess that what is happening. Next slide, please. Okay, and then how this relates with the climate change. So the very big objective is that we are trying to find out things before they have even happened. So we know that climate is getting warmer. You see one graph of that what is the expected increase in mean temperatures for the near decades. And we also know that it's because of the increasing carbon concentration in the atmosphere. But then that we know that the future will be warmer, so we actually artificially create warmer conditions already now, and then we look at that what kind of things will happen. So in a way that to investigate greenhouse gas effect, so we are actually building small greenhouses to the tundra, and after that we look at all of these things that I explained earlier, like we look what is happening to plants and in the soil and all its living organisms and the photosynthesis. And the next slide is then looking at the opposite direction. So this present day is just a short glimpse between the past and the future. So actually to know where we are going, so we also need to know what has happened in the history and from where we are all coming from. And next slide, please. So then that we know we are observing things in nature, what are happening, and this can all this relate to either local or global issues, and this is a presentation of something that is important globally, locally. So we know that climate change is affecting many things a bit differently in different parts of Finland. So we get like the snow is coming later than it used to be, and we may have some rain coming on snow, and it causes some ice to form, and that is affecting local livelihoods in the north. And one, for example, that is reindeer herding, which is important in the north. So then that when we study all of these things, many researchers do this in order to find solutions at the local level and to help adapting different livelihoods to the climate warming. And in addition with the local questions, so in the end we also have a global perspective that I show in the next slide. So anything that we do here is then it adds up finally at the global level, and you likely have heard a lot about carbon sinks in the ecosystems. So there is too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and like for us people, we need to cut down the carbon emissions in order to stop the climate from changing. But what plants and forest trees are doing in these conditions, under these conditions, this has an important meaning for the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. And the process I was talking about to you earlier, photosynthesis, so that what kind of things are happening with photosynthesis around the globe. So this actually has an important role in the global climate, and that's why even though I work in northern Finland to study and northern Norway and Sweden and to study these questions, so researchers in other parts of the world are studying them as well. And also in addition to field experiments, you can see the vegetation, how it's changing in a very large scale when you look at satellite pictures. So there are many different scales that we can observe these things. And finally, this is the ongoing trends and in vegetation and climate. So we are trying to look things, predict things at the global scale. And the next slide, please. And then what is important when I say global is also that information travels actually. So if I do some study here in Finnish Lapland, so it could be that somebody from Canada is reading what I have written and find out here. And it could be not Canada, but anywhere in the world. So it's important to know that what for example, we do here is useful for scientists everywhere in the world. So, and this goes both ways. So when I work here, I always keep track on what is people are finding in other ways, other parts of the world. So this is then when you think about scientists, so it's a global community. So we share information, and that is then a very important part of how we can try to make better predictions at what is going to happen, both globally and locally. And my final slide, which is coming next. So I thank you for listening, and I hope that you got some picture of that what biologists and scientists are doing for studying the effect of climate change, and how this is how we try to help. So we are trying to find out means for adapting our everyday life to changing climate, and it's a challenging task, but we are doing this together.
Thank you, Sari, for your informative presentation. And I was not really familiar with that topic before, so it was nice to learn something new about that also. And we also got a few questions sent. And, well, first of all, I want to ask a question that you partly answered already, but what us young people can do more to take consider of the environment when we are traveling in the ways of science?
Well, what I would like to say to young people that like when you read news from the media about climate change and impacts in nature, so it's often that it's only this very worrying news, and it's very important that we don't ignore these news, because that's the reason why we have to take climate change seriously. But still, that it's not the whole truth. That maybe I think that these studies that are finding practical solutions for local questions are not maybe so well covered. So I would like for the young people to be aware that a lot is being done around the world to try to negate and limit this harmful impact that climate change could have on nature. And also, of course, that when you think of traveling, so a climate-friendly way to travel is to travel here in Finland. And what I would also like to encourage young people that when you travel in Finland, you can observe that for example, how is the vegetation different when you go from South Finland to north of Finland, or that you go from the forest up the hill to the treeless area. So you can all open your eyes, both what you can observe and witness in nature, and also try always to remember that what kind of processes are then going on in nature that are very important to every one of us.
Okay. The next question was sent by Kati, and the question goes, what is the best way to travel more sustainably? Should everyone just stop flying?
Well, as I said I think maybe I'm not the best expert to perhaps to answer this question. So I think that it's not perhaps possible for globally to entirely give up flying. And so it could be that our life has become too dependent on it. But if you can choose between flying and using other ways, so definitely it's worthwhile always taking the train or more climate friendly way.
Okay, so for example, if you travel in Finland, you could just take the train from Helsinki to, let's say, Rovaniemi.
Yeah, I always take the night train. So I go to sleep in the night train, and then I wake up in the morning in Helsinki. So it's not a big deal. So it's very easy traveling by train, even very long distances.
Yeah, well, that is good to know. The next question was sent by Siiri. What has been the most interesting finding in your research?
Wow, this was a good question, and I don't. Well, what could be the most interesting? So I think what is always the best thing that when you find out something that it's totally what you didn't expect to see. So, but it's actually very difficult to suddenly say that what is.
Has there been so many interesting and new findings that you just can't pick one that was the most interesting?
It's very difficult to pick one right at the moment.
So we could say that there has been a lot that has changed your mind and the end of the research.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final question was sent by a planter. How do you take the climate in consideration in your day-to-day life?
Well, what I do, I want to consume too much. So when I buy clothes, I buy good quality clothes that I know that I can wear for several years, and so it's very easy just to not to have a very lavish lifestyle, and be careful not to buy food that you have to then goes to waste, and so that's, I guess it's something that most people are nowadays trying to do.
Okay, thank you, Sari. And thank you to all the people who sent these questions also. And before moving back to our main studio in Helsinki, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the youth behind organization the Kuusamo Summit and all the people that have been giving speeches. So now, thank you and goodbye from Kuusamo.
Thank you so much, Sari and Joni. Next, we will make a call to Rovaniemi, Mika Hast from Protect Our Winters Finland RY, who as a snowboarder has seen how climate change has affected winter. Now let's see Mika's presentation.
Hello, it's great to be a part of this inspiring summit, and I've heard lots of interesting speeches and a sign of hope here today. The whole youth climate movement is the best thing that has happened for the fight against the climate crisis. So I am an ambassador for and board member for Protect Our Winners Finland, a dad of 2, an ex-professional snowboarder, and an entrepreneur from Rovaniemi. I had my climate awakening about over 10 years ago when I traveled the world and saw the glaciers receding and saw significant changes in the snow, which was my profession, and I depended on it, and I still do. It's my great passion. So I will present the PAUS 7 signpost with some my own examples and actions of changes that I made. The signposts are a tangible way to get started and work your way towards more sustainable future. But first, the next slide. What is Protect Our Winners? It's an international non-profit climate organizations, and we're leading the voice of climate change for the outdoor sports community and people who love winter and depend on snow. We are fighting the climate change by turning our passion into purpose. And then the next. We are building a social movement for positive climate action around the globe. Our goal is to show that the climate actions are not giving up on things and settling for less, but that they are actually positive changes which give you more than they take. We created the PAUS 7 signposts as a travel map for anyone wondering how to get started or struggling with how to take action towards more sustainable society and future. Then we get into the actual signposts on the next slide. And the first one is, my biggest one is the travel smarter, which means reducing your impact by traveling by land mostly and closer. Choosing a greener option like the train or the public transport when possible, riding a bike whenever you can. And if you need to travel far and have to take the airplane, please plan your travels carefully and stay for longer periods. Weekend getaways by plane are not cool anymore. Traveling is where I made my biggest positive impact on my footprint. Being a professional athlete, I used to fly a lot and many times it was unnecessary. Now I rarely take the plane anymore, and I found some amazing adventures just close to home. We have the most beautiful and pure nature here in the north, which I love the most now. Then the next slide. The second signpost is spend better, which means taking your money into companies that actually care about the environment and people. Support the responsible ones rather than the dirty ones. Switch your electricity for eco-energy for an option. I always think about what I buy and do I really need it? And when I do, I invest in durable products that last for a long time, not just following the fashion. Then the third signpost in the next slide is eat greener. And this means eating more plant-based and local food. Reducing meat and dairy in your diet and replace them with healthy vegetables. It will bring more flavors to the table as well, I promise. I used to think that every dish needs to have meat or fish in it, but once I started experimenting on the plant-based diet, I found out I feel better and have more energy actually. Now I don't eat meat anymore at all, but there are still some fish and dairy in my diet. But with the veggie selection these days, I have to admit I only have bad explanations left or for not being a vegan. And then the fourth signpost is learn more, which means increasing your knowledge on climate change and the things it affects. It's a very complex issue with lots of variables, and new information and studies are released frequently. This is the thing that I started doing when I realized that the snow was changing, and I started to study and learn about the climate change. But it is hard to find trustworthy media outlets and information, but you learn it from school. So if you don't know and you can't find the information, ask from your teachers. And if they don't know the answer, maybe they will know who to ask at least. The next one is speak louder. So when you learn and study about climate change, don't keep it to yourself. Talk to friends, family, and co-workers. Ask questions. Find your best leverage, which means start from a community or a group where you have a voice already. I feel that I am part of the outdoor and winter sports community, and that's why I chose Protect Our Winners. It's my best platform to get my voice out. Then the next signpost is live simpler, which speaks for itself. So reduce your consumption, recycle, appreciate local products and services and joys. This goes to traveling as well. Try if you can find joy in concentrating what you're actually doing now and not only dream what you could or should be doing somewhere else. It's not easy, but definitely worth pursuing in life in general. And then the last signpost, which is definitely not the least, get political. This one is the most important and most effective of all actions that you can do. This year, COVID and the coronavirus proved this correct. Basically, the whole world stopped way faster than anyone ever thought, but still the emissions were cut only by 9.3%. And according to the Paris Climate Agreement, we would need to do this same amount every year from now on. This proves that we need a systemic change. We cannot do it only individually. We need to change the structures of our societies, and the fastest way to do this is by voting climate bad guys out and supporting the climate good guys. If they have the support of the people, hopefully they will have the courage to change the course. And then it would be easier for all of us easier and cheaper for all of us to do better choices, and it would be actually better and cheaper to take the sustainable choice and not to think about it. So vote whenever you can, and always when there's an election, and call your politician or take part in the local politics. And then the next slide. Repetition is the mother of learning, as we say it in Finland. So here's the path and the signpost explained in writing again. I invite you to try them. On this path, I've found many new joys and lost a big chunk of my carbon footprint. I am now somewhere between 3 to 4 tons annually, which is not enough yet, but still many times less from where I started from. And usually a Finnish person has a footprint around 10 tons. So with small actions that actually do not worsen your life, but actually make it better, you can also reduce your carbon footprint. So I thank you from Rovaniemi, and it's inspiring to see that the young people in Kuusamo and all over the world are taking a lead on the fight against the climate change.
Thank you so much, Mika, for the good presentation. Next, we will travel actually to another country, to the Norway, where Marinella Himar, a traveling journalist and nature photographer, will tell us what she thinks about climate issues.
Hei kaikille ja terveisiä Pohjois-Norjasta, Lakselvista. Mun nimi on Marinella Himari ja mulla on suuri ilo ja suuri kunnia olla yhtenä Kuusamo Summitin puhujista sekä vastuullisen kotimaan matkailun edustajista. Mä oon ammatiltani luontokuvaaja, retkeilytoimittaja ja kirjailija, ja koska luovat sisällöt on ominta minua, niin halusin kirjoittaa teille puheen, joka kantaa nimeä Oodi Suomelle. Ja näiden tulevien 6 minuutin aikana näillä sanoin ja näillä puhein haluan myös toivottaa teille kaunista syksyä ja talvea sekä ihania ja ikimuistoisia hetkiä Suomen luontokohteissa.
Oodi Suomelle. 103-vuotias Suomi. Euroopan vanhimmalle ja vakaimmalle kallioperälle syntynyt Suomi. Tuhansien järvien ja tuhansien suppien Suomi. 8 vuoden ajan Suomi. Unohdettu ja taas koronavuonna muistettu Suomi. 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 Suo. Suomi on soiden maa. On Torronsuo, Linnaistensuo, Soidinsuo, Suurisuo, Patvinsuo, Hatlamminsuo ja Kesosuo sekä 100 päin muita soita, joiden yllä pitkospuut kumisevat retkeilijän askelista. Ja kun painaa poskensa vasten vanhan lankun kelottunutta pintaa, voi kuulla suon sydämenlyönnit. Suomen sydämenlyönnit. Tutum, tutum, tutum. Meillä on tunturit, kerot, kurut, korvet, aihkimetsät ja erämaat, ikihonkien huokauksissa täyttyvät metsät ja hopeakylkiset koivikot. Meillä on joet, lammet ja lampareet, ja meillä on Itämeri. Meillä on rantoja, särkkiä ja saaria. Meillä on saaristo, jota kiertävät reitit tarjoavat ikimuistoisia elämyksiä. Meillä on yli 140 000 matkailun työllistämää tekijää ja heidän tuottamiaan palveluja, elämyksiä, ohjattuja retkiä, majataloja, hotelleja ja mökkejä, on tarinankertojia, kurssittajia, kalastusoppaita, veneenkuljettajia, museotyöntekijöitä ja galleristeja sekä maan mainioita ravintoloita. Meillä on kaikkea, mitä löytyy muualtakin. Meillä on kaikkea, minkä vuoksi meidän ei tarvitse lähteä toisaalle. Meillä on kaikkea, mitä vastuulliselta kotimaan matkailulta voi ikinä toivoa. Meillä on kaikkea, jolla voimme nostaa koronavuodesta kärsivän kotimaan matkailun suosta. Vaikka me haluamme monesti matkustaa kauas, sinne ei ole pitkä matka, kun käyttää kitukasvuisia kuusia tienviittoina, kun nostaa jalan ja toisinkin yli kaatuneen rungon, joka jo kyljistään hohtaa komeaa harmaata. Kun ei ole kiire, sen kun kävelee vaikka karahkat napsahtavat kovasti askeleen alla. Miettii miettimistään, hymyilee, hengittää itse ja antaa metsän puhaltaa henkeä itseen. Ja kun viimein istuu alas kannolle ja siirtää kuluneella kengänkärjellä sivun kasan oranssin läikyttämiä lehtiä, vai löytääkseen turpean suppilovahverotupsaan, sitä tietää, että kaikki, mitä tarvitsee, on vähemmän. Tietää kaiken vähemmän olevan enemmän. Sitä tietää, että kauas on matkan mittana minun päätettävissäni. Silloin tietää Suomen riittävän, sillä täällä, jos missä, on enemmän kuin yksi ihminen pystyy elämänsä aikana kokea. Tässä paikassa olen kauempana kuin turkoosin meriveden suukotellessa nyt kohmeisia varpaita. Tuuli täällä ei kuiskuta lempeästi, vaan väkevästi. Se meinaa huokaista murheissaan, mutta sitten taas röyhistää rintaa ja puuskistuu ja puhuu minulle napakasti. Se puhuu ja ponnistelee puolestani ihan aiheesta. Se ponnistelee meidän kaikkien puolesta. Se kertoo tarinaa 4 tuulen maasta ja 8 vuoden ajan maasta. Maasta, jonka kansallismaisemia, kansallispuistoja ja lukemattomia luontopolkuja voisi kiertää koko ikänsä, silti kaikkea koskaan näkemättä, kokematta. Vaikka turvetta kerryttävät suot työskentelevät ilmakehän hiilinieluina, Ne tunnetusti toimivat myös ihmisten huolinieluina, paikkoina, jonne voi mennä rauhoittumaan ja aistimaan luonnon ikiaikaisuutta. Suolle voi kertoa harminsa, jonka märkä maa imee itseensä ja piilottaa suloihinsa. Suot hoitavat meitä ja mieliämme yhtä kuin ne hoitavat elinympäristöämme. Sen vuoksi myös meidän tulisi pitää soista entistä enemmän huolta. Meidän tulisi pitää luonnosta huolta, mutta myös vastuullisen kotimaan matkailun kehittymisestä huolta. Sen vuoksi minä lupaan matkailla jatkossakin pääsääntöisesti kotimaassa ja käyttää paikallisia palveluja. Minä lupaan säästää luonnonvaroja, lajitella ja vähentää jätemäärää. En koskaan jätä maastoon muuta kuin jälkeni. Minä lupaan säästää energiaa ja vettä, suosia maalämpöä ja ekosähköä hyödyntäviä yrityksiä. Minä lupaan kunnioittaa paikallista kulttuuria, sen perinteitä, historiaa ja tarinoita. Minä lupaan ottaa selvää ja kuunnella. Minä lupaan pysyä merkityillä reiteillä ja tulistella merkityillä nuotiopaikoilla vain metsäpalovaaran ulkopuolella. Lupaan olla rakentamatta kivikasoja, jotka eivät kuulu luontoon. Minä lupaan olla häiritsemättä lintujen pesintää tai lähestymättä eläimiä ja annan luonnon elää omaa arkeaan. Minä lupaan aina noudattaa jokaisen oikeuksia, enkä koskaan poikkea annetuista ohjeista. Suosin lähiruokaa ja paikallisia palveluita ja matkamuistoina käsitöitä. En kaiverra tai piirrä hiilellä nimeäni yhteenkään laavuun tai kivipintaan. Annan paikallisille kotirauhan ja varmistan tarvittaessa luvan kuvan ottamiseen. Minä lupaan noudattaa kaikkea tätä myös sosiaalisen median kanavissani, jotta en esimerkilläni johda ketään harhaan tai anna ymmärtää mitään väärin. Minä lupaan osallistua toiminnoillani ja valinnoillani Suomen ainutlaatuisen luonnon säilyttämiseen sekä kotimaan matkailun edistämiseen. Lupaatko sinäkin?
Thank you so much, Marinella, for the very touching video. And next we're going to see our last TikTok video.
Okay, so I've realized recently that there are lots and lots of beautiful things to go and see around me. So today I'm at the Pieni Karun Kierros, or the Little Bear Trail, and I'm going to teach you 5 things you should keep in mind when you're out traveling. And there you go, those are 5 things to keep in mind when you're out and about. Now, since we're almost at the end of the event, why not maybe go and explore something new today?
Thank you so much for the creative TikTok videos. Kuusamo Summit asked you if you think about climate when traveling. This is how many of you said yes. Yes, very interesting. Thank you all for answering our poll questions. Now we have came to the point where I want to thank everyone on behalf of the Kuusamo Summit. We would like to thank our organizer, Kuusamo's 4-H Association, our supporters, Koillismaan, a leader, and European Agricultural Law Foundation for Rural Development. Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a nice day.